Hey everybody, welcome back. If you've stumbled across this video, you're interested in getting into trials. Now, I'd class myself as a beginner, but a beginner with a bit of experience now. You see, I bought my first bike 1 year ago. I started doing actual trials 9 months ago, so I have experienced quite a bit now, and I think that I'm in a position where I can help somebody getting into the sport. You see, when I wanted to get into it, I was doing a lot of YouTube watching, a lot of reading reviews and things. So here's my take from my experience. So starting off, to do trials you need a bike. Now, don't overcomplicate your bike selection. Now, there are people on 50-year-old bikes that are going to smash you when you turn up to a trial because it's the rider, it isn't the bike. And technology, I don't think it matters as much in trials as in a lot of sports. All the new bikes with their fuel injection and fancy suspension and things, they're very fast and very snappy. And if you're an experienced rider, that's amazing because you're going to be able to fire up obstacles really quickly. But for me and you, that isn't as much of an important thing. We need bikes that grip really well, that are really smooth and really easy to ride. When I bought my first bike, I went down the road to Cameo Moto with my cash and I bought the flashiest bike I could. I bought a Vertigo DL12. This thing had got red shiny wheels and a carbon airbox and a titanium exhaust. It looked mint and I was super proud of it and happy with it. Thought, this is amazing. And then someone with more experience than me rode it and he says, oh, I think that's a bit too much bike for you. You see, it really wanted to go, and when it went, it came all at once. And so yeah, it got in my head a little bit. And everyone said how these beaters are really easy to ride. So I didn't test ride one, I looked around and I bought one. And what a difference it made for me. It was immediately loads smoother. It's got lower quality suspension, not that I can tell that at all. It's amazing and I love this bike. So if I was you looking to get your first bike, don't be drawn into thinking you need to buy new or even like the newest one you can get. With your budget, buy the one that is the most mechanically sound. The bike you can afford is the right bike for you. There isn't that much between them. Although I would say, if you choose between a beater or a gas, anything from a 200, a 250 or a 300, you're going to be absolutely fine. They've been around forever, nearly unchanged. So if you buy a 22 like this one, or you buy one from 2015, the difference isn't massive. You're not going to like hop between them and think, oh my God, that's a world apart. You know, they've got the same frames, the suspension might change, but it was always good enough for what you're going to need as a beginner. So I would strongly suggest, don't spend a fortune. If you fall in love with it, buy a more expensive bike later, but buy yourself a gas or a beater 2-stroke and you're going to be all right. Don't spend a fortune, buy something that's been well maintained, well looked after, doesn't look like it's been thrown down 50 rocks every day of its life, and you'll be absolutely fine with that. Now, in terms of equipment, you only need two things. You need a good set of boots and you need a helmet. The kit that you wear, people are turning up in workwear, people are turning up in gear they've had for 40 years. Like, it's absolutely not a fashion show, but you do need a proper set of boots. When I started, the first few times I rode the bike, I rode in some old motocross boots and I thought they were fine. But when you get into some actual trials boots, well, mine are over there, I'm not getting them now. They are so much more supple, they've got loads of grip, the soles are really soft so they bind into the pegs really well, so you're going to get loads of grip. There's some ankle support, but not as much as in like an enduro boot. A bit of shin protection, but they're quite low. But you definitely need some specific trials boots. Don't be suckered into a brand. Buy the ones again you can afford and you like the look of. I'm sure that they're all pretty much of a muchness. Just, oh, my friend Mark he's got some big calves and he doesn't fit in an Alpine Stars. So if you're a big calved like Mark, maybe avoid Alpine Stars. That's the only insight I've got. Outside of that, buy the ones that are the prettiest that you can afford. And then in helmets, again, I'm sure they're all much of a muchness, but with helmets, I've had plenty of helmets and they don't all fit the same. So if you get the opportunity to, go and try some on. I tried on an Aero and it pinched me at the front. I tried on the Jitsi one that I ended up buying and it was spot on, it fits like a glove. So they're realistically the only two pieces that are a necessity, a helmet and boots. Regarding gloves are optional, but you are going to tear through them. So I've bought gloves for, excuse me, I bought gloves for £20, I've bought gloves for £50, and all of them rip. All of them rip at the fingers, all of them rip down at the bottom there when you pull them on. They all do the same thing. You tend to burn through them, so don't spend a fortune. You can pick up a nice set of gloves from any old brand for about 25 quid. You're going to be good to go on them. I do like to ride in gloves, as do most people, so you could maybe class that as the third thing that you do need. So next I'm going to explain how a trial works. I didn't know anything about this. I didn't know how it all unfolded. When I bought the first bike, I bought it because I was coming off of a dirt bike doing like green lane and a bit of enduro, and I was crashing my brains out, and trials had always kind of appealed to me, and I didn't want to get injured. I wasn't riding too much. I find it quite hard to practice. It's not a very accessible thing to practice. So I was falling off a lot when I was racing and just felt like I was going to get injured. So I left off-road motorbikes for a little bit, and then just the urge kept pulling me back, and I'd always been intrigued by trials, so I thought, you know what, I'll give this a go. So I bought this bike and didn't really know how the sport unfolded. So here's how it works. Here's what happens when you turn up to a trial. You turn up to a trial, you sign yourself on. Now you'll need a license to go around and do all these places. It's only something you pay online for. I think they're about 50 quid. You need to sign on with either the ACU or the AMCA. Each club in the country will be affiliated with one of those two clubs, I believe. I think they're the only two that most people are going to find. So you want to join up to one of those if that's what your club runs, or I did both so that I could move between clubs, because there are 3 or 4 clubs that run trials around me. So you need to either get an ACU or an AMCA license. You're then going to turn up to your trial, you're going to go and sign on. There's no pressure with all this sort of stuff. And if you're a beginner, I strongly suggest, even if you've got a bit of experience and done plenty of off-road riding, going into that white route, get used to the pressure, get used to people being around you, watching you ride and taking it in turns and seeing how it all unfolds, because it is a little bit weird at first, and I definitely felt the pressure of that. So going into that white route, the white route is the beginner route, okay? And you'll have a number just like this one here with a white board. Generally speaking, the white route is for beginners or people, say you've been doing trials for a long time and you're getting a little bit older, carrying a bunch of injuries, and you don't want to throw yourself up a rock. They might drop down onto that white route so they can still compete and have fun, but the risk is much lower. In a section, there are 10 or 12 usually. At the weekend there was 11 actually. In a trial, there are usually made up of 10, 11 or 12 sections, and you do laps of those sections. In each section, there are all these little flags. I haven't got one in here. There are all these little flags that mark and indicate the way you've got to go. So the next route up is the clubbing route, the yellow route. This is the kind of everyman's route. This is the one that I'm wanting to get onto now, to be fair. I feel like I'm ready. I'm ready to graduate as such into that yellow route. You'd follow the yellow flags around there, and you'd only deviate when there were no yellow flags, and you'd follow some different colours, which I'll get onto now. The next class up from that is intermediate, somewhere between the club and an expert. So they don't do all the super hard stuff the experts do. They do a lot of like clubman sections, but then they'll also do some hard sections. So it's a kind of a hybrid between the two. Because the jump to the expert route, which is the last one, is really tough. The experts will be riding with a red board on there, and they're doing some crazy stuff. They're doing the big rock steps, they're doing the big hills, they're doing some crazy stuff, and it's super impressive to watch. Now, everyone from the beginner, the white route, me, and the expert are all riding the same area of section. Their flags take them in more difficult places, might take me in easy places, but we're all generally riding the same area. So I'm standing in the queue there watching some absolute maniac hopping around on this stuff. So impressive to do. And there's this real bond. There's no like segregation and stuff. Yes, the hard route riders will be riding with their mates and you'll be riding with your mates, but there's no real segregation. Everyone's just chilling and having a chat. It's a really nice atmosphere. I turned up, got involved. I've done plenty on my own now, as well as with friends that I've made along the way and friends that have got back into trials after a time off. And the atmosphere is so good, super welcoming. I've never had any trouble. In fact, I've had the opposite of that. I've had more people trying to help me and reach out, and super polite. Everyone's asking you how you're getting on, there to offer help when you're struggling. So yeah, it's really good. I would absolutely suggest you go and get involved in your local trials club. I've got involved in, like I say, 4 different clubs so far I've rode with. All of them amazing and love it. What I would say, my friend Mark bullied me into doing a club and trial. When I first started, he was like, no, you're not doing the white route. No, you're not doing it. So off I did this clubbing route, and first section, people everywhere. I completely stacked it and binned it. I dropped the front end of some mud, pretty much went over the bars, the bike revved, I'm laying on the floor covered in mud, there's people everywhere. I was so self-conscious, felt like an absolute idiot. And I've done that again since, obviously. But I lost my temper, lost my head, and I kind of ruined my own day mentally. So once again, go and enjoy that white route, go and learn. Do it. I did it all year this year. There was times when maybe I could have stepped up to the other route, but I just didn't feel mentally ready to. I felt like it was important to sort of, I don't know, to really commit to that and learn. And I've learned a lot from doing different trials, a lot. You learn from watching people as well, which is amazing. So yeah, don't be in a rush. Don't be in a rush. Get on that white route. Don't be self-conscious. Humble yourself. Go do the white route. Now, how do you score a trial? So if you're in a section and you're going around, you put your foot down, that's 1 mark. If you put your foot down again, it's 2. If you put it down again, it's 3. If you put it down 4, 5, 6, 7 times, it never goes above 3 on the scorecard, okay? You only get the worst score, which is a 5, if you go out of the section, so you miss a flag out. In some trials, they're non-stop, so if you stop moving, I had a shocker on that the other day. I thought I'd won a trial, turns out I hadn't run a trial because I hadn't won because I stopped twice. Or you failed to finish the section. Say you try and get up something, it's super muddy, you can't do it, you have to come out the section, that's a 5. So that's pretty much the scoring along the way. If you were to say struggle, but you just dabbed your feet all the way through it, you'd only get a 3 as long as you completed the section. So it's a very, very simple system and you get used to it really quickly. So last thing I want to touch on really is sort of practice. How do you practice? And I don't mean the physical things that you practice, but how accessible is it to practice? Where I live on the edge of the Peak District, there's quite a few venues I can get to locally. So I'll name a few now. There is Parkwood Off-Road Centre, Tong, which is like Barnsley. That's a pay and play venue that only operates on certain days, but huge area. Next up, we're going to go Hooton Lodge, which is at Rotherham. Great venue, open every weekend, and in the summer I think it opens on a Thursday night. Super friendly bunch of guys down there. Again, great bit of land, very varied, lots of stuff for you to practice as a beginner. I think you'll find that a very good venue, especially if you're new to off-road motorcycling. The stuff they've got for you there is excellent. You'll really enjoy that place. Then you've got Hawk's Nest, which is up near Buxton. That's at the opposite end of the scale. That's a difficult place to ride, and I have ridden there on my own a few times. I did a vlog on a practice session there actually, and I love it there, but it's probably not somewhere you should ride on your own because there's lots of opportunities to fall over in a river, under a rock, down a hill. Like, there's plenty of opportunities for you to impale yourself on something. So probably ride there with friends or with people, but that's open 363 days a year or something like that. It's a great place to ride. After that, there are trials clubs that offer practice on their venues. So there's places like Mansfield Bourne, which is my local club. They have the land that is Bracken Rocks, which is a trials venue. And once a month, the first Saturday of every month, they do a practice day. You can go and practice on that venue. I think Sheffield and Hallamshire Club they're crowdfunding at the minute actually to buy the land, which is Edensfields. There you can buy a practice membership, go and practice as much as you like, I believe. But outside of that, it can be quite difficult. But the good thing is, as a beginner practicing, you need to be practicing the basics. When I first started, I was like zapping up rocks and all that sort of stuff all the time, because that's the stuff you see on Instagram, isn't it? That's the stuff that got me wanting to do it. Seeing all this bike control, the hopping around. So I'm trying to drop up rocks and stuff. Entered my first trial, I very much realised that you don't need any of that as a beginner. They are going to make you turn downhill, uphill, awkwardly around trees, around rocks, things like that. But you're not going to be doing anything challenging that's going to hurt you. That's not what they want to get out of you. That white route is about teaching you the throttle control that I spoke about earlier, the on and off throttle control, the on and off the brakes, where you should be weighting yourself. And that white route is all about flowing your turns together. They'll put you on off cambers, on hillsides. So if you can practice that at home on the drive or in a shocking car park out the way somewhere, I don't know. Practice your slow speed turns coming on and off the throttle. That is going to be massively important for you. I didn't do a trials day or a school when I started. Luckily, I got going with it, and then a few friends sort of got back into the sport after they had a load of time off. So they could teach me a lot, and they've helped me massively. But if you haven't got that, go and do a training day. I think you'll learn loads from it. As soon as people started to teach me a few little tips and tricks that they'd learned over time, it changed the game for me. I went from riding like a complete scarecrow, which I still do sometimes, to actually moving around on the bike a little bit. So I would strongly advise, if you don't have like a group of people that you can ride with and challenge you and teach you things, go and do some practice days. Go and do some training days, sorry, not practice days. So outside of those venues and things that I know of, oh, by the way, there's Inch Perfect, which is, I think, down south, which is a massive venue. You can get on there all the time. Outside of those venues, it can be quite hard to practice motorsport in the UK. You know, the noisy things, they're limited by neighbours and things like that. So I would strongly suggest going into those trials that I spoke about with a local club to you, and treat that like a practice day. Go and use it to learn. You see 50 people riding on that one day, so you're going to pick up a lot of things. You're going to see where they go, where they didn't go. You soon start to meet people, and as you're walking through the sections to have a look before you actually ride them, people will be explaining stuff to you, and they're such a friendly bunch. Go and ask questions, but treat those trials as a practice day. Don't get the competition in your head. Like I said earlier, it's a super relaxed vibe, so no one's going to be like on you to perform. If you fall off and you don't know what's going on, they're going to help you. So go and treat them as your practice days. That's probably the most accessible way to get regular riding and regular practicing. So I hope that that's answered some of the questions you might have had if you're thinking of getting into this wonderful sport. I've gone all in. I absolutely love it now. It's my sort of main hobby that I do. And the crossover into other sports like mountain biking and things have been amazing, so I'm enjoying that more as well. But I hope this has gone some way towards helping you towards that. And if you're in the Midlands, if you're in the Midlands and you want to go and do a trial, hopefully I'll see you there, because I'm there most weekends now. I absolutely love it. If you got something from this video and you enjoyed it, please drop a little like down there and subscribe to the channel. There's going to be loads more trials, vlogs and stuff as I get back into that. Recently I've had a few holidays, so not done too many, but there's lots of that to come, as well as some travel videos and stuff in this next year. So please do, like, subscribe, do the YouTuber thing. Thanks for watching. See you in a bit.